This is a dramatized story inspired by real debt situations. For educational and entertainment purposes only. Not legal or financial advice.
$79,000. That was the number I could not bring myself to say out loud. Not to my husband, not to my mother, not even to myself most nights. I was 41 years old, a licensed practical nurse working 12-hour shifts at a county hospital in Columbus, Ohio. And I was drowning in a debt I had been hiding for 6 years. What I found out in month 7 changed everything. But I am getting ahead of myself. Section 1. Reality, let me take you back to 2006. I was 24, the first person in my family to go to college. My mother cleaned office buildings at night. My father worked construction until his back gave out. Nobody in my house knew anything about FAFSA, subsidized versus unsubsidized loans, or what an interest rate of 8% actually meant compounded over 20 years. What I knew was this. A nursing degree meant a real job. A real job meant I would never be my parents. I borrowed $34,000 for a 2-year LPN program at a private career college. That felt enormous at the time, but I told myself I would pay it back fast once I was working. Nurses make good money. That is what everyone said. What they did not say, a starting LPN in Central Ohio in 2008, right in the middle of a financial collapse, makes $19 an hour. After taxes, insurance, and a car payment on the used Honda I needed to get to the hospital, I had maybe $200 a month left over. My loan payment was $300. So I did what they made very easy to do. I deferred. And then I deferred again. And somewhere in those deferments, the interest kept growing. By 2015, when I finally looked at the full balance for the first time in years, $34,000 had become $51,000. I felt physically sick. I closed the laptop. I did not open that account again for 4 months. By the time I married David in 2017, the balance was $58,000. I told him I had some student loans, maybe $15,000 or so. He did not push. I did not correct myself. And just like that, the lie became the foundation of our marriage. By 2024, at 41 years old, that number had reached $79,200. Not because I stopped working, not because I was reckless, because of interest, fees, 2 more deferment periods, one during COVID, one during a medical leave when I tore my rotator cuff, and the compounding weight of a decade of avoidance. Here is what my monthly budget actually looked like. Mortgage, turned $40. Car payment, $410. Car insurance, $188. Utilities and internet, $240. Groceries, $520. Student loan minimum payment, $612. Credit card minimum. Because yes, I had also accumulated $14,000 on 2 cards trying to cover the gaps, $390. My take-home after taxes and benefits, $3,120 a month. You do not need a calculator. The math does not work. It never worked. I was $880 short every single month before I bought a single personal item, paid a medical copay, or put gas in my car. I was floating on credit, and I was out of room. Section 2. Emotional Crisis. The call started in January 2024, not from my federal loan servicer, those I could manage in an app and mentally ignore. These were from a collection agency pursuing the private loans I had taken out to cover my second year, the ones that did not qualify for federal income-driven repayment. I had let them lapse during my medical leave, and they had been sold twice since then. My phone rang at 7:58 a.m. while I was parking at the hospital. It rang at 12:14 p.m. when I was charting a patient's vitals. It rang at 9:42 p.m. when David and I were sitting on the couch watching TV. That third call, I watched his face. "Who keeps calling you?" he said. "Spam," I said. "Probably a warranty thing." I got up and went to the bathroom and sat on the edge of the tub and pressed my back against the wall and just breathed. I was 41 years old, a nurse who had spent 15 years helping people in crisis, and I could not manage my own. The shame was a physical thing. It lived in my chest, between my shoulders. I started having trouble sleeping in February. By March, I was getting maybe 4 hours a night. I would wake up at 3 a.m., running numbers in my head, except the numbers never changed. I would lie there in the dark next to my husband and feel like a stranger in my own life. My coworker, Denise, noticed it first. "You look tired even when you come in rested," she told me. "What is going on with you?" I said it was the schedule. I said it was the overtime. I said everything except the truth. In April, a certified letter arrived addressed to me. David brought it in from the mailbox before I got home from my shift. When I walked in, he was sitting at the kitchen table with it in front of him, unopened, but clearly from a collections attorney based on the return address. "What is this?" he said. And everything I had been holding for 6 years came out at once. I told him the number. $79,000. I watched his face go through every stage, confusion, then disbelief, then something I can only describe as grief. He did not yell. David is not a yeller. He just sat there very quietly and said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I did not have a good answer. Because the truth was, I was ashamed of where I came from, ashamed of what I did not know when I was 24, ashamed that I had become a version of my parents I had promised myself I would not become. Financially underwater, too proud to ask for help. We did not speak much that evening. I slept on the couch. At 2 a.m., I was looking at the ceiling, thinking about the certified letter, the collection calls, the $14,000 on the credit cards, and the mortgage we were 3 months from falling behind on if something did not change. I typed into my phone, "What happens if you can't pay student loans in Ohio?" That search was the beginning of the way out. Section 3. Wrong choices. But I did not find the way out right away. First, I made every wrong move available to me. Wrong move number 1, a balance transfer. I found a credit card offering 0% APR for 15 months on balance transfers, and I moved $7,000 of the private loan debt onto it. What I did not read carefully: the 3% balance transfer fee added $210 instantly, and when I missed a payment in month 4 because I had miscalculated my paycheck timing, the promotional rate vanished, and the interest jumped to 24. 99%. That card, which was supposed to be a solution, became a $7,800 problem. Wrong move number 2. I called one of those debt settlement companies I kept seeing advertised online, the one with the friendly voice and the promise that they could reduce what you owe by up to 50%. I signed up for their program. They told me to stop paying my creditors and instead send $400 a month to them, and they would negotiate lump sum settlements on my behalf. What happened? 2 of my accounts went to charge-off status within 90 days. My credit score dropped from 641 to 509, and I later learned the company had an F rating with the Better Business Bureau. I got out of that arrangement after 4 months, but the damage to my FICO score was done. Wrong move number 3. I raided my hospital's 403B retirement account, the equivalent of a 401k in the nonprofit world, and took a hardship withdrawal of $6,000. I used it to make 3 months of mortgage payments and bring one of the private loan accounts out of collections. What I did not fully account for: the mandatory 10% early withdrawal penalty plus ordinary income taxes on the full amount meant I owed the IRS roughly $1,800 I had not planned for come tax season. IRS debt on top of everything else. The hole I was digging kept getting wider. I want to stop here for a moment and say, I am a smart woman. I have an education. I help people manage health crises every single day. And I still made every one of these mistakes because I was operating from fear and shame instead of information. If you are in a similar place right now, please hear this. The worst financial decisions almost always get made in the dark, in a panic, when you feel like you are out of options. You are not out of options, but you need actual information, not late-night Google searches and 1-800 numbers on TV commercials. Section 4. Turning point. The turning point came from an unexpected place. A patient. It was a Tuesday in May. I was doing discharge paperwork for a 46-year-old man named Gerald who had come in for a cardiac event and was now cleared to go home. We were waiting for his wife to pull the car around, and he asked me if I was okay. I said I was fine. He said, nurses always say that. And then he said something that stopped me. I went through bankruptcy at 44. Best decision I ever made. I know the look. I did not say anything. But that evening, I looked up nonprofit credit counseling agencies in Columbus, not the debt settlement companies, specifically nonprofit, which is a different and important distinction. I found a NFCC-affiliated agency, the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, and I made an appointment for the following Thursday. The counselor's name was Marcus. He was calm, professional, and completely without judgment. In the first 30 minutes, I laid out every number I had been hiding from everyone, including myself. Federal student loans, $61,400. Private student loans, $17,800 across 2 accounts, 1 in collections. Credit card debt, $14,200 across 3 cards. Mortgage remaining balance, $187,000, current but fragile. 403B loan outstanding, $1,200. Back taxes owed to IRS, $1,800. Total, $280,300 in total obligations. $95,000 of that, excluding the mortgage and retirement. Marcus did not flinch. He had seen worse. He told me something I needed to hear. This is a math problem. Scary math, but math. And math has solutions. He walked me through every option on the table. Section 5. Educational information. I want to share what Marcus explained to me because I think it is the most valuable part of this story, and most of it I had never heard explained clearly before. First, my federal student loans. Because I have federal loans, I actually have income-driven repayment options that private loans do not have. Under the SAVE plan, or depending on current program availability, the IBR or Pay-IE plans, my monthly federal loan payment could be recalculated based on my discretionary income rather than the full balance. Marcus helped me understand that a loan in repayment, even at a lower payment, stops the collection clock and protects my nursing license, which in Ohio can be reviewed if you have significant unresolved debt judgments. I had not known that. It changed how urgently I moved. Second, the private loans. These are a different animal. Private loans do not qualify for federal income-driven repayment or public service loan forgiveness. For these, Marcus explained 3 main paths. Negotiate directly with the lender or collection agency for a settlement, enter a debt management plan through a nonprofit credit counseling agency where they negotiate reduced interest rates on your behalf, or consider bankruptcy. On bankruptcy, Marcus was very clear. He is a counselor, not an attorney, and he told me to consult a licensed bankruptcy attorney, which I want to echo for anyone watching. Always consult a licensed professional before making any decisions about bankruptcy or debt settlement. What he could explain generally. Chapter 7. Bankruptcy is a liquidation. It can discharge most unsecured debt, including credit cards and some private loans, relatively quickly, usually within 3 to 6 months. However, there is a means test. Your income must fall below a certain threshold for your state, and as a full-time nurse, I was near the line. Chapter 7 also stays on your credit report for 10 years and can affect your ability to get certain nursing positions that require background checks. Chapter 13, Bankruptcy is a reorganization. Instead of discharging debt immediately, you enter a 3 to 5 year court-supervised repayment plan based on what you can actually afford. It stays on your credit report for 7 years, and critically, it can stop collection calls immediately through an automatic stay. For someone with a mortgage they want to keep, Chapter 13 can be a way to protect the house while restructuring everything else. Student loans, and Marcus was very honest about this, are notoriously difficult to discharge in bankruptcy. Federal student loans almost never get discharged. Private student loans have a slightly higher but still difficult path through what is called an undue hardship filing, which requires a separate legal proceeding. This is not guaranteed, and outcomes vary widely. I want to be very clear. Do not go into a bankruptcy assuming your student loans will disappear. Consult a bankruptcy attorney who specializes in student loan cases specifically. On my credit score, it had dropped to 509 after the debt settlement company damage. Marcus explained that a bankruptcy would drop it further initially, but that many people see their FICO score begin recovering within 12 and 18 months after bankruptcy discharge because the debt-to-income ratio improves dramatically. A 509 with $95,000 in debt is not more functional than a post-bankruptcy score rebuilding on a clean foundation. That reframe was important for me. He also told me about the IRS debt. The IRS has its own installment agreements and currently not collectible status options for people in genuine financial hardship. $1,800 is a manageable IRS obligation with a payment plan, and the IRS is often more flexible than private creditors. He urged me to address it directly rather than ignore it. Again, consult a licensed professional before making any financial or legal decisions. This story is for informational and educational purposes only. Section 6. Resolution. I want to be honest with you about where I am today because I think false happy endings are a disservice. I am not debt-free. I am not even close, but I am no longer drowning in the dark. Here is what I did. I enrolled my federal student loans in an income-driven repayment plan. My monthly payment dropped from $612 to $189 based on my current discretionary income. That breathing room was real and immediate. I consulted a bankruptcy attorney, a licensed one, not an online service, and we are currently in the preparation phase for a Chapter 13 filing that will address the private loans and the credit card debt in a structured repayment plan. The automatic stay, once filed, will stop the collection calls, I am told. I am still waiting for that silence. David and I are in couples financial counseling. That is its own kind of work, separate from the debt itself. Rebuilding trust after a 6-year secret is not a quick process, but we are doing it. The certified letter that sat on the kitchen table in April, the one that cracked the whole thing open. I am almost grateful for it now. Not for what it cost us, but for what it ended. The hiding. At 41, I finally know exactly what I owe, who I owe it to, what my options are, and what I am doing about it. That knowledge, even when the numbers are still hard, is a completely different feeling than shame in the dark. If you are sitting somewhere right now with a number you have not said out loud, to your spouse, to your family, to yourself, I want you to hear this. The number does not go away by itself, but it also does not have to destroy you. There are licensed professionals, nonprofit credit counselors, bankruptcy attorneys, and income-driven repayment options that exist specifically for people in exactly this situation. You just have to stop hiding it. Start there. Get the free debt checklist linked in the description below. It covers income-driven repayment enrollment, how to find NFCC-affiliated nonprofit credit counselors in your state, what to bring to a bankruptcy attorney consultation, and how to contact the IRS about a payment plan. Link is right below this video. And if this story helped you feel less alone today, subscribe. There is a new story every week.